So I think I was looking at your website, and so correct me if I'm wrong, but so your 6-week board and train is $20,000. Is that correct?
100%. Yep. Mm-hmm.
Okay. So obviously that is going to cater to a certain type of client, right? Like naturally, what part of Florida are you in? Are you in Miami?
Yeah, we're about 30 minutes from Miami. We're closer to Fort Lauderdale.
Okay. So obviously you're going to be dealing with a much higher net worth individual, if you will, right? Typically speaking,
Correct.
with your training. How have you found it has been transitioning to dealing with clients like that? And what sort of differences what sort of things do you need to be aware of when you're working with a client of that kind of caliber? Because I know, we have obviously our major sports teams here in Cleveland and stuff like that. And I've worked with a decent amount of like the Browns players and the Cavs players and stuff like that. And I used to joke that in a lot of cases, like the clients that had more money like that typically were I used to joke like the worst to deal with because it was just expendable income they can kind of throw at the dog. And a lot of them had such busy schedules and stuff like that they were very, very not interested in doing a whole lot of work once those dogs went home.
Yeah. So luckily we're at a position where not only do we attract high-end clientele that can afford our rates, but we can also be selective on what clients we take on.
That's a good point.
And just as much as when we do a sales call, and I hate to even say sales call, that's why I'm putting it in quotes.
Sure.
I'm not trying to sell you anything. Not now in this podcast, nor when someone calls me to inquire about our training program. I'm not selling you anything.
Yeah.
I'm simply explaining to you what we do, finding a little bit out about you and your dog and what your hopes and dreams are, tell you exactly what we do in our training, like is the best that I can. Typically my sales calls, I hate saying that, but we'll take anywhere from minimum 30 minutes to an hour of just me blabbing at the mouth, explaining, answering any and all questions that they have.
Yeah.
And oftentimes it requires a second and a third call to answer all the questions that the wife had and everything before they pull the trigger on something like that.
Yeah.
And I'm more than happy to spend that type of time because that's what we get paid for here. We are like a white glove type service, if you will.
Yeah.
And again, the point of what I was saying is I'm not trying to sell them on anything or hook them on anything. Mm-hmm. It just so happens that when I explain to them what we do in our program, they either are 100% on board or it's not for them, whether it's the price or our style of training.
Yep.
I make it very abundantly clear. We do use prong collars. We do use e-collars. Your dog will go home with a prong collar and e-collar, and you will have to do the homework and the work to make it stick. Otherwise, you're going to be like Adriana, right? And so that being said, not only are they interviewing me on this sales call, I'm making sure they're the right client for me.
Yeah.
Because if they're not, then I will tell them this is not a good fit.
Yeah.
We're not a good fit. And I tell them that up front too. Not always, because it kind of depends, but oftentimes I will tell them just as much as you're trying to see if you're right, if we're right for you, I'm trying to see if you're right for us. And so I just had one of these just a few days ago. This isn't even a high-end client. This is just a woman that's absolutely desperate to get her dog fixed. And this is her baby. It's a 10-month-old Dogo Argentino, fully intact. And she's been taking it to dog parks since early on. And you can imagine, what do you think the problem that dog has?
Yeah. It's having some dog aggression issues, I'm assuming.
You got it. And so now we have a fully intact, full of testosterone, coming of age, badass Dogo Argentino. Here we go with your term that I get to use now. Power breed.
There we go.
Oh, yeah. And he's got some dog aggression. He's been attacked 3 times, and the 4th fight was he instigated. So now he's attacked another dog.
Yeah.
And I got to ask myself, I'm like, Lord have mercy. Is the money worth it?
Yeah.
Do I need to bring a aggressive dog into my home around my family and my children? Because that's how we train here in a home environment. Mm-hmm. And do I need this dog potentially, hurting one of my children or attacking one of my other clients' dogs? And I said, man, is this even worth it? Because I told her like this just on the phone. It's probably the rudest thing anyone's ever said to her, but I just speak from the heart. I'm like, I'm genuinely thinking now if it's worth it. I understand. And I told her, this is the part I'm talking about. Understand, I don't need to take your dog in. I could probably have some kind of poodle, doodle, or oodle take that spot, and I don't even have to worry about it. So let me think on it, and I'll get back to you tomorrow. And it wasn't about being rude. I'm just speaking the truth. Yeah. Like, then it came down to like, well, who else is going to train this dog for her?
Yeah.
Who else can do it? And I'm not saying there's not other people that can do it. Of course there are, but I don't know who it is in her area that could do it. And then anyways, ultimately I said, look, let's make it happen. Oh, but this is what made me realize though. This is what made me accept her as a client. I said, do me a favor, because there's different like degrees of dog aggression.
Yeah.
Take your dog outside and I want you to film what it is he's doing. Man, this girl had those videos to me like within an hour.
Yeah.
And so that to me showed like the dedication, like that she's on it. I've asked clients to do that before, and like it's been a week and they still haven't filmed anything, and I'll get around to it. And that's fine. Like, but that just shows me, you know, you're not in it to win it. And she's a strong girl. And that's the other thing I'm looking at. Could you even physically control this dog if you had to?
Yeah. And
she's actually like a trucker. She's a truck driver. So she's a tough gal. Anyways, I said, let's do it. Let's go for it. And God help me, you know, because this is a lot of dog.
Yeah.
I have no concerns that I'll be able to train that little booger. Yeah. I'm going to have his ass straight within the first day. That's for sure. Mm-hmm. I mean, he ain't going to be perfect in the first day, but I will be very confident walking him wherever I need to take him within the first day or two. I just keep going back to, will this dog listen for her? Yeah. Will she be able to enforce the rules? Will this dog look to her as the first period teacher, former drill sergeant, or does this dog think she's a joke?
Yeah.
And, you know, I time will tell if we made the right decision there or not, because it's my reputation on the line. It's her money. I don't want her to waste her money on me or anybody else. I take my job very seriously, and I respect, you know, when people choose us, it never gets easier. And what I mean by that is like the halfway trainings and the take home trainings that we do. Yeah. I never go into a take home training like, woo, I go in like stress to the max. Yeah. Will the dog perform? Will the owners perform? Will everything go according to plan? You know, and there's honestly no better feeling though, when you finish that take home training and everything goes, you know, as good as it could, dare I say perfect. Yeah. And you're like, man, you know, one done, another 500 to go, you know? Yeah. And even then you're still kind of sitting there waiting for that late night phone call or that early morning phone call.
Oh yeah.
How did that first walk go?
Yeah. Yeah.
And I tell them this, and I tell them all the time, nothing like, hey, leave me a review. Thank you. Yeah. I've had people, I'm going to tell you a story if we have time for it, that will blow your mind. But I had a guy once pay me. I charge a lot. I don't hide that. Yeah. This guy paid me extra months later after the training. He sends me a check for $5,000. Yeah. 5 or 10. It was a lot of money. And I'm like, with that beautiful handwritten note, maybe 4 to 6 months after the training. And I call the guy. I'm like, mind you, this was a take home training that went horrible. The worst take home training I've ever had. Like I felt like quitting as a dog trainer. This is how bad this thing went. I felt like a failure. It was rough. This guy ends up sending me a $5,000 bonus check. It's not to brag or anything. It's just, I was just as confused. And I call him and he says, Garret, this dog is amazing. It took me days and weeks and now months to realize just how much work you put into him. Yeah. And anyways, what I tell those clients, don't send me checks. That's not what I'm asking you to do. My favorite thing is when 3 months, 6 months, a year, 2 years down the road, they send me that 30-second video of them and their dog off leash healing, like in a park somewhere. And like, it melts my heart. I'm like, oh my God, like that's what I live for, you know? So
yeah, some people, and it's so funny too, because like anytime you do get those text messages from people, at least for me, you know, I'll get one, you know, same deal, 6 months later. We got one just yesterday from 3 years prior. A lady tagged us in something on Instagram, and they always say, "So sorry to be bugging you right now." It's like, you're not bugging me. Like that's the best thing that's the best. Jesus Christ, that's the best thing that I could wake up to in the world is you sending me a message like that. You know?
Yeah, yeah, and also too, even if it's the opposite. Hey, I'm having this problem with my dog. I tell them, don't wait. If there's an issue that pops up, don't let it just get worse and worse and worse. You need to call me immediately so we can 100%. Jump on it. Yeah, whether I walk you through it over the phone, I send you a video of how to fix it, or I come over there, or you come over here, we're gonna get that fixed.
Yeah, and don't be embarrassed. Like some people, especially like when you get into a year and a half later, some people like feel bad or embarrassed contacting like, hey, like I'm having this big problem right now. Like I don't know how to work through it, right? And I always tell everybody, right, even though, we provide, it's funny, I was going to bring up the topic of, like guaranteeing training, this, that, and you hit it on the head as far as like, we provide a year of follow-up support of like, regardless of if you're putting in the work or not, like we'll still get you in for those follow-up sessions to help you, obviously. But long-term, like, we're here to help you forever. And there's such a problem in the dog world, especially people charging lots and lots of money, where people find themselves like going to one trainer, then needing to go to another trainer, then needing to go to another trainer. It's like, once you've signed up and committed to us, right? Like you're in the family, more or less, right? Like you're
100%,
we're here for you forever, where if you ever have a problem with something, I want to know I'm the first person that you reach out to about that kind of stuff. You don't have to go and spend $2,000 on some other Joe Schmo's board and train follow-up program to get your training back under control, because you've already made that commitment to us and we've made that commitment to you.
100%. Yeah. And there's no greater compliment in this either, is referrals. And also when people end up getting that second dog and that third dog, and they send their dog to you, 100%. And I'm like, man, that's great. And, and I think I tend to talk in circles if you haven't noticed, but you had asked about the high-end clients, if we find that they're more difficult to work with. And honestly, no, I don't find that.
Well, I think, like you said, the ability to vet them is something I didn't even think of. Because again, we're in Cleveland. Like we have a decent amount of like high profile people, obviously, but not like a ridiculous abundance of them where there's a market for just that necessarily in the dog training industry. Right. So it's not like we could be as selective of the ones when they come through, where like pet dog clients, like we have same deal out the wazoo. We have, typically a 2-month wait list for all of our programs at any given time. It's like if somebody calls me, there's plenty of people on the phone with them where I'm just like, yeah, no, we're not a good fit for you. Right. Like we could do that and know how to do that ahead of time, where if, again, freaking Baker Mayfield calls me up and says, yo, I want to train, I want you to train the dog. It's like, yeah, well, I'll train your dog, dude. Right. So that makes sense, and completely how you could avoid any sort of problems with that.
Right. And again, to what I'm telling you is very rare. It's not like, first off, it's few and far between the folks that can afford our training.
Sure.
So that kills about 99% of anybody that would. We try to make our prices very abundantly clear. That's literally to make the phone stop ringing.
Yeah.
When I had my first video go viral, one of my first videos, we had over 300,000 people hit our website in 3 days. Those 300,000 people all had access to my phone number, and Lord have mercy, did every one of them call me, and I want my dog trained, and I want my dog trained. And they have, there's a saying, and I'm going to screw it up, but it's like, help me out with this. It's like a dadism. I'm going to screw it up, but they have like caviar dreams on like a peanut butter and jelly budget. You know what I mean?
I know exactly what you're talking about. I don't know what the saying is, but like,
you know what I mean.
Expensive taste, but not a lot of money.
Yeah. And so sometimes people literally like choke on their food. Yeah, sounds cool. How much is it? And I let them know, and they go, hey, sorry, we might not be for you. So, but it's few and far between. Because we still go with the motto: all ages, all breeds, all issues. Because again, it's not the dog I'm worried about.
No,
it's the owner. Will the owner be able to handle it going forward? And as long as I have a good, I feel a good, like we're on the same kind of wavelength and things are flowing nice, then we go for it. And that's most of the time. We very rarely turn people away for that reason.
Yeah.
But, and we have two, and don't limit yourself. I have a handful of dog trainers that I mentor and coach to improve their business and improve their dog handling skills and all that, as well as I have mentors that I reach out to when I run into a problem or something. And I always hear the same thing too, for those dog trainers out there who maybe aren't, or maybe struggling to get those quote high-end clients. I always hear the same thing. Well, where I live, there's just not the market for it. People can't afford that.
Yeah.
I'm like, oh yeah? Well, where are you? Exactly.
Sure.
And what ends up happening though is, because there's the west coast of Florida, right? And I'm just going to give you one example. A very good friend of mine is on the west coast. He's a dog trainer, current police canine handler. And he's like, man, you know, Garrett, I see the prices you're charging, but man, I could never do that here. I go, why not? He goes, they just can't afford it here. Bro, remember the example I gave you of the guy that paid premium top dollar and then gave me a $5,000 bonus?
Yeah.
That guy lives less than a mile from my friend.
Yeah.
I'm like, you know, he traveled from the west coast of Florida to the east coast for me to train the dog.
Yeah.
Now we have dogs getting shipped to us and flown to us from Michigan, New Jersey, that Dogo Argentinos in New Jersey.
Yeah.
California. We just took a dog back, California, Connecticut, from all over now. They're coming to us. And so we're blessed, man. But we run just a slightly different program. Basically, we do quality over quantity is what we push for. So, and it's not to bash or downgrade, because I have a very good friend of mine who turns 30 to 50 dogs a month, banging them out. Wow. Mm-hmm. And good for him. Thank God there's people like him that are able to offer amazing training at a more affordable price to handle all the folks that need it, you know. And that's the other thing too, is I don't ever see why dog trainers need to be cutthroat, because Lord have mercy, there's so many dogs out there that need training and so many owners that need help. There's no need to, screw each other over in the process.